Hey, we're Saints. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to our Crucifixional live stream. We are glad to have you with us. Thanks for joining us. We've been talking about men and women, the fellas and the ladies, and how we interact with one another. And the way that men treat women in our society today is, sometimes it's suspect. In fact, you may have heard the saying that chivalry is dead. And I thought as I heard that, no, it ain't. Not in my life, it ain't. Is it in yours? If it is, it's time to step up your game, fellas. What is chivalry? What does it mean to be chivalrous? And I think, when you reflect on that word, immediately the image of a knight comes to mind. Which is fascinating because that's the second pillar, the second characteristic of what it means to be a warrior saint, a real man, right? We've been talking about, you want to find the right woman? You got to be the right man. To be the right man, you have to be a king, a knight, a mentor, and a lover. And a knight, when you think of chivalry, comes to mind because they are associated, connected historically, and even in the collective consciousness of the term chivalry. Ultimately, chivalry, though it has, you could define it a multitude of different ways, I'm choosing to look at it today from the perspective of respect and admiration. To be chivalrous is to think about the proper type of protocols or rules, maybe rules of engagement when interacting and behaving the way we behave with a lady, right? So chivalry is that there's a code that we abide by. And many men have lost that code. In fact, some men don't even know that code. We spend a lot of time here at the Warrior Saints movement with our young fellas, the teenage boys, teaching them all of those proper respects and protocol. And they sometimes say, "Oh, Father, you're a dinosaur. You're dealing with stuff that's old and traditional and archaic." And I'm like, yeah, but it ain't wrong, right? And so today, let's talk about a few of those things. And fellas, if you don't know this, you implement them today. And ladies, if your fella ain't implementing them, you show him this video today. Right? So let's talk about it. How does a gentleman treat a lady? First, I'm just going to throw a couple of things at you. To be chivalrous, it begins with the mentality that she is worthy of respect. One of the things we often teach our young fellas, the high school age, is that you do not treat that girl as just a piece of meat to be conquered, right? Like in teenage years in high school, especially with the flippancy of our society today, they're always looking just to be with a girl and have sex with her and bed her and all that kind of stuff. And in some sense, in doing that, they make her, that's what we call objectification. Well, objectifying a woman is not chivalrous, right? She becomes a thing and not a person. The mentality, look, and that's not just high school, right? Like it's a thing out there in the world where everybody's like this open, flippant sexuality is just all over the place. But when you do that, it just becomes like going from woman to woman to woman, and she becomes thing, and they stop being Sally, Jane, or Mary, right? Like those are human beings, and we must be chivalrous and think of them as such. That's the first thing, is you have to have that mind shift, brother, that this is a human being who is worthy of your respect. I'm even going to go so far and be so nasty as to say, you may not deserve respect, but she does, right? Like that's the key, is that you must show her respect. The first part of chivalry is to recognize that's a child of God. She very well could be a fellow warrior saint, and she is worthy of your respect, even if you are not worthy of it. Even if you're such a jerk that no one should respect you, which I'm sure you're not, but even if, she deserves it. And even if you might think of her as somehow lesser, she deserves it. Make that your mentality, step one. Step two, son, you better open the door for her. I don't give a damn if it's the car door or the door of a restaurant or the door to from your garage into your house. I don't care what it is. Open the door for her every single time. You will never be near me when I'm with my wife or my daughters and see them get into the car, open the front door of the house or of a restaurant or of a business, or even from our backyard patio into the kitchen area itself, without me opening the door for them. Don't you ever let her open the door. Obviously, she's capable to open the door. So ladies, don't get all up on your high horse that I can do it. Of course you can do it. But we're respecting you. It is a part of chivalry. We're not going to let chivalry be lost. We are going to open the doors. You offer your arm. I don't know if you can see this. Always, gentlemen, the right arm. Don't do the left. When you do the left, I look at you, I'm like, oh, that's sweet, but you don't know. Do your right arm. Gentlemen always offer the right arm. And when you offer an arm to a lady to walk, you don't loop her, right? You offer, she loops. Remember that one. That's a key thing. Now, The next thing is when you are walking on the street, and this is going to throw the previous one into a little bit of dispute. When you're walking on the street, which side of the street do you walk on? Do you know? I'm sure some of you got it, and some of you are like, yeah, on the outside, right? A lady always walks on the inside. That's just one of those little things that, we've got to know. Now, as you're walking on the outside of the street, you are offering your right arm. But what if you're going in a direction where to offer your right arm puts her on the outside of the street? That's when you switch and give the left arm. Do you understand? You never put the lady ever on the outside of the street. Next, when you go to a restaurant, when you're in a public place, in a sitting room with other people, at someone's home, in the living room or the den, wherever you may be sitting with other people, wherever it may be, and a lady stands up, son, you better get up out of your chair. If you're in my presence and a lady stands up, and I don't care where we are, and I see you, I'm going to smack the back of your head, right? A gentleman always rises when a lady stands. And when she comes into a room, a gentleman rises, right? And women might be saying like, yeah, we kind of like this one. Yeah, of course you do, because it's saying, I respect you. I'm going to be chivalrous. Always stand when a lady walks into a room. And that includes at a restaurant, at the dinner table. When you walk into the restaurant, what do? You don't just sit down. You sit second, because you are pulling out her chair to let her sit down. Do you understand? You're starting to see, hopefully if you're staying with me, you're starting to see the direction that this is going, is that you're really shifting your mindset away from you and towards her, right? You pull out her chair and then you slide it in. Now you don't need to smush her stomach up against the edge of the table. Slide it in. She's going to show you where to go and how far to push the chair in, but you slide her chair in for her and then you sit down. Now, in the midst of the meal, she decides she needs to go to the potty. What do you do? All right, have fun? No. You stand up and you pull her chair out. That's it. And when she comes back, you stand up again and you pull her chair out and put her back in her seat. Like, it's just how it works. Do you understand? Most importantly, as we transition from this idea of chivalry we transition deeper into the idea of chivalry, is that she is a human being and you better treat her as such. And that means that as pretty as she may be and as wonderfully built as she may be, you look her in the eyes. The eyes. Right? At no point should we ever deviate our gaze away from someone's eyes. I know that it gets uncomfortable, and sometimes people don't, sometimes it's hard to look people in the eyes because it's uncomfortable, right? With your lady, always look her in the eyes. With love, not with anger, not with animosity, not with fear, and certainly not with dread, but you look her in her eyes. Which leads to my final point today, is the way that you speak to her. I know, and I confess to you, and I hope my bride is watching this episode today, that over the years, I've spoken to my wife 99% of the time perfectly, like a gentleman. I've made some mistakes. I've spoken to her rough. I've had a bad day, or someone's been on my nerves, or perhaps even she's been on my nerves. I may have felt terrible. The kids may have bugged me. Someone in the parish, the Warrior Saints, who knows? And I took it out on her, right? Like, it's never acceptable, but I confess it. I've done it. The way that a man talks to his woman must always be with compassion and with respect. It does not mean that we don't speak truth, because real men always speak truth, but that we're never angry, aggressive, or snapping and yelling at her. So take that seriously. To be a real man, you got to be a knight. And knights are chivalrous. They take care of their ladies. To really put this in perspective. So like, as I throw these things out here to you, I know I just threw a litany of these tricks all the way through here, these little hacks, whatever they call them. I want you to join us at warriorsaints.org, because at this website, there are a multitude of things that you can find, but the important one is the Way of the Warrior Saint. It's a library filled with teachings, much like this one, but better. And these better teachings one of them is called Hagtal, Hagtal, how a gentleman treats a lady. And in that episode, we go through in a very detailed way some of the things that we talked about today, with some visual examples and explanations to show us how to do that. So that as we're striving to find the right woman, we're helping ourselves become the right man. Allow us to help you. We really are. We're giving it 100%. And you know what? It's good stuff. Forgive me if I sound arrogant, but I'm bragging about our stuff because it's good stuff, because we're working hard. We love you. Join us at warriorsaints.org. Search for Hagtal. Become a chivalrous knight, so that you can find the right woman, because you're the right man. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about mentors. Love you. Till then, keep walking on the way of the Warrior Saint.